Hey everybody, Jim Hoffman here, pastor at St. John's United Methodist Church. It is Monday, Memorial Day. It is time for our daily devotion, so I want to invite you to come and join me. Let's take a moment to pause and center ourselves on God's presence in our lives today on this beautiful Monday. It's a wonderful day to be able to just pause and reflect. Memorial Day is the day that we remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and our freedom, but also you need to think about it as just kind of that spiritual sacrifice as well. It's a time for us to remember those who are our spiritual fathers and mothers who also paid sacrifices so that we might have a living faith today. And so I'm looking forward to us taking some time just to pause, center ourselves, reflect, and give thanks. As you find us on Facebook, leave a quick comment and say hello. I would appreciate you doing that. As you do, I will say good morning to those of you that are here. And then here in a few moments, we will get into our devotion time together. Hi, Stacy. Good morning to you. Great to see you. Hello, Barbara. Good morning to you. Mr. Longmire, great to have you. Glad you are here today. Don't know what you have planned today. Margaret and I are painting some patio furniture for the front porch. So we had a little project to do, and we're in the garage. I have my trusty, dusty fume protector here. Haven't worn a mask in a while, but definitely wearing it while I'm in there with my brown spray paint. I probably have some on me somewhere. That's probably what that is right there, brown spray paint or something, but what a joy. We're going to be reading out of the Gospel of Matthew, by the way, Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 to 28. I'm going to be preaching on the Gospel of Matthew this coming Sunday. I hope that you're taking some time to read the Gospel this week. I want to encourage you to do that. That way you get a chance to get a good sense and flair for the flow of the Gospel of Matthew and some of the things and stories that Matthew finds important and wants to highlight. So I would encourage you to read the Gospel this week. Hi, Barbara. Good morning to you and Chris. Glad the two of you are here. I hope Chris is feeling better. Sorry to hear about your mishap, Chris, but I hope you're on the mend. All right, friends, here's our prayer. O God, by your spoken word, you created everything that is. By your incarnate word, you redeemed us. By your comforting word, you are with us still. Prepare us now to hear your word to us this day. Amen. Matthew chapter 15, we're going to read verses 21 to 28. This section is titled, The Faith of a Gentile Woman. Then Jesus left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him pleading, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. For my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely. But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away. Tell her to go away, they said. She's bothering us with all of her begging. Then Jesus said to the woman, I was sent only to help God's lost sheep, the people of Israel. But she came and worshipped him, pleading again, Lord, help me. Jesus responded, It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. She replied, That's true, Lord, but even dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath the master's table. Dear woman, Jesus said to her, Your faith is great. Your request is granted. And her daughter was instantly healed. Our devotion writer today is Navamani Peter, and Navamani is from Karnataka, India. And focus verse comes out of Luke chapter 17 and verse number 6. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, Be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. And here is Navamani's devotion that is for today. One day, our pastor visited our home to read the Bible, sharing encouraging words and prayer. When he was about to leave, Lakshmi, our domestic helper, who is of a different faith background, ran up to him and asked him to pray for her son, who was suffering from shoulder pain. Her love for her son and her desire for his healing prompted her to approach boldly this man, whom she perceived as a man of God. Our pastor consoled Lakshmi and prayed in her native language, and she was comforted and encouraged. This reminded me of the story of the Canaanite woman who approached Jesus pleading for her daughter who was possessed by a demon. Even though she did not know Jesus personally, her love for her child overcame any hesitation. Jesus applauded the Canaanite woman's faith and taught us an important lesson. God's grace and love are immeasurable and unconditional for all. We can learn much about faith from the resilience of these women. We need not give up in times of suffering and pain. We can trust that God's salvation is available to us and that we can put our hope in God. Oh, hang on a second. And we can put our hope in God, who cares and loves beyond our comprehension. Like wristband thing was going off. It was driving me crazy. Here's the thought for the day. Seeds of suffering can produce a harvest of faith. I should have just left it alone. It would have rang again in 9 minutes. We would have been done. I could have played with it at that time, but I let it bother me in the moment. You know, you think about this devotion and how powerful it is. You think about both of them, the story that comes out of Matthew and about this devotion, right? We can get tunnel visioned and we can think that God's love and mercy is only for a certain, category of people. The righteous, those that are moral, upright, the ones that we admire because they are good citizens and they look out for the common good and they are good servants and all of these kinds of things. They become our moralistic examples. And so we may think that only God's love and mercy is for someone like that, right? And so we get these categories, we get these parameters. Jesus in this story, at the moment of Matthew, had been sent, and he had proclaimed that he was sent to the children of Israel to proclaim God's Messiah had come to them, to rescue them, to bring them back to faithful worship of the God who had rescued them from Egypt many, many centuries before. But all of a sudden, a Canaanite woman hears the story of Jesus. She knows the legend of him, the lore of him. She has heard of his acts of mercy. She has heard that he has healed people, that he has raised people from the dead. And so she is coming to him and she is asking him to do something for her. And Jesus doesn't even reply to her. Doesn't even say a word to her. Disciples, she actually starts begging the disciples. And the disciples are like, come on, you got to send her away. She's driving us crazy here, right? And Jesus says, I have only come to the lost sheep of Israel. And she said, and he says, is it do any good to give bread from the table that belongs to the children and give it to the dogs? Pretty harsh thing to say. But she's, wise and says, hey, even dogs get scraps. And Jesus recognizes this moment. Some people say this might be the turning point in his ministry where it becomes more inclusive to all people. Who knows? But in this moment, it included her daughter. And Jesus says, your faith has been heard and understood, and your daughter is healed. Which is a powerful thing. Which means that we need to be probably a little bit more open. And when we think about what it means to pray, that it's not just about praying about our needs and praying about our family and praying for those who we believe are the righteous or the ones that deserve it, but we ought to be having conversation with God about people that are outside of that. People that we may not necessarily see as loved or valued or understand them to be even part of God's kingdom. We need to be people who are trying to figure out how to love as much as God did and show as much grace and openness as God did. So when you think about the times that you pray and who you offer prayers for, and are you offering prayers for people who are not even part of your faith tradition? And are you even talking about your prayers to other people? You know, that maybe is the toughest part of it for any of us, is to be able to speak boldly about our faith, particularly in this world that is secularized and divisive, and where we want to be affirmed and liked, not what we would call canceled today, disliked. You just never know the conversation that you might have with someone if you are talking about the prayers that you have in your life, the struggles that you have, and the things that you are praying for. You might be amazed at the number of people who would say to you, you know what? I'd like for you to pray for me as well. Let's take a moment to do that. Let's take a moment to pause and pray. So merciful God, we thank you for protecting and sustaining us. We ask that you strengthen our faith so that we might walk obediently with you. And in speaking of our prayers, maybe someone will ask us to pray on their behalf. It might be a door that opens to a conversation that leads to greater faith. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, friends, thanks for being here today. What a joy to see all of you. Thanks for stopping by on this Memorial Day. For those of you that watch this later on, don't forget, leave a quick comment and say hello. I would appreciate hearing from you. Always nice to hear those comments. And then don't forget, come and join us for our devotion time tomorrow as well. Once we conclude, feel free to share this on your own Facebook page if you would like. Maybe one of your family and friends will stop by and share in our devotion time. As you pause and pray today, pray for one another. I am praying for you. I hope you'll take a moment to pray for me as well. Otherwise, thanks for being here today, friends. Great to see you. God's rich grace and peace be upon you. Look forward to being with you tomorrow.